Hello everyone, this is Mathfinder, the home for every math nerd's Pathfinder optimization needs. If you're new here, welcome, and we're so glad to have you. If you've been here before, welcome back, and thank you so much for your continued support. Today's video is going to be a short one. I just wanted to highlight a few interesting Armour Property Runes that I came across while browsing through Impossible Magic. Armour Property Runes generally don't get as much discussion as Weapon Property Runes, because they tend to not have the most powerful offensive effects. There are still a few pretty good ones for combat usage. For example, the Fortification rune that helps you negate crits, or the Spell Watch rune, I believe it's called, that helps you resist a few conditions. And then there are a few more utilitarian ones, like the Invisibility rune or the Size Changing rune, and of course the Shadow rune for stealth item bonuses. But armor runes generally don't get that much discussion. There were three standouts in Impossible Magic that I wanted to talk about. The first rune I wanted to talk about is the Moonweave rune. The Moonweave rune can be etched onto any armor, and all of the ones I'm talking about today apply to all armors. They have no medium, light, heavy restrictions, and it's first available at level 5. It has greater and major versions at levels 13 and 17. The effect is pretty innocuous looking. When a magical effect or spell heals you, whether it comes from yourself or another creature, you regain 2 additional HP. And if a spell would repeatedly heal you, it only applies for the first time you receive HP from it. So for example, if you had Life Boost cast on you and got fast healing, it would apply only once to that effect. Doesn't look like a lot in a vacuum, but 2 additional HP is still a decent amount for a tank to receive. And tanks are going to be the ones that use this rune the most. A tank's job generally tends to be to make their allies pretty bad to attack and thus absorb a lot of damage themselves. The Guardian is of course the most obvious example of this because you will literally dive in the way of attacks targeting your allies. So because all of this damage is being concentrated onto you, spikes of healing that are also concentrated on you tend to be fantastic, and this is just going to be a valuable part of how your party plays, where you may need healing less frequently than a lot of other characters do, but when you do need it, you will need a lot of it. And an additional 2 is an additional 2 for every single time you receive it. It is going to make a difference, and the greater and major versions are especially going to make a difference. Notably, there are 2 types of tanks that will benefit from this the most: champions and war priests, because both of them are capable of healing themselves very efficiently. The champion, of course, has Lay on Hands for 1 action, and the war priest, supposing they have Healing Font, will have the ability to 1 action heal themselves. Notably, this can also extend the value of low-rank spell slots stocked with heal for the war priest. So I think those are the 2 tanks that would want this the most, but any tank that has a spike healer in the party is going to appreciate it. And by the time you get the greater and major versions, you're actually getting a lot of HP back. I think 10 makes a bigger difference at level 17 than 2 would at level 5. And I still think 2 makes a good difference at level 5. The next item I wanted to talk about is the Sunweave, the Moonweave's opposite. The Sunweave is a pretty unique effect. It gives you a universal, unconditional, always-on bonus to perception checks, +1 for the level 7 version, +2 and +3 for the greater and major versions, respectively. And note here that there is a typo. The header says level 7, the first entry says level 6, but level 7 is the correct one. You can infer that from the 350 gold pieces price and the item prices table. Unconditional bonuses to perception checks are pretty rare. Most of the time, you get it to 1 type of perception check, usually visual, for example, what you would get from the Obsidian Goggles. I did a quick glance through Nethys, and I found a handful of options in the 10+ level range that did allow you to get universal unconditional bonuses to perception checks, but there aren't that many of those effects, and one of them was even an Apex item. So it is good to receive this effect, especially as a +1 version to start. Most of the universal ones usually start at +2. The other thing is that perception bonuses typically end up in the eye or face area. So any perception bonus you can get without taking over the eye slot or the mask slot is just really good, because that slot often competes for other kinds of bonuses, like, say, needing survival bonuses, which, again, often come from the eye slot, or needing something that helps you see through mist, or needing, like, gauze masks or something like that. So having the ability to get scaling perception bonuses on your armor, and then on top of that, you get the pretty fantastic effect of once per day fortune on initiative rolls, which in my opinion is pretty powerful. Initiative is a very important part of getting to do what you want early before the enemy has any uptime. And finally, I wanted to discuss the mobile rune. This is marked as a level 5 item, though it is priced as a level 3 item. I think they meant to say 160 gold pieces, not 60. That being said, this is a fantastic rune. Once per turn, you can move an additional 5 feet when you step. This is, at a baseline, exceptional. Stepping is relevant when enemies have reactions provoked by movement, but when enemies have, say, longer reach than you, you may not even be able to get out of their reaction via a step. With 10 feet instead of 5, you might be able to do so, because every 5-foot increment of speed does matter. Likewise, because the first diagonal you move is 5 feet, not 10, you can use this to cut slightly more maneuverability around foes whom you otherwise might have had to stride around to, say, get into flanking position or something of the sort. And of course, there is the combo potential. Anytime steps are mentioned, there are 2 combos that stand out. Elf Step, which lets you step twice, and the Liturgist Animist, which lets you sustain your Animist focus spells while using a step or leap action. With Elf Step, this is also a significant improvement. Elf Step lets you step twice. One of them would get a 5-foot increment, so it'll become 15 foot worth of stepping. That is exceptional. This means that even against huge or gargantuan creatures, you actually might just be able to step out of their reach. I would say every caster wants to consider this rune just in case they get caught in reaction range with an enemy. And again, with the Liturgist, there are going to be times you don't want to leap, you just want to use step, and this will make those steps that much better. And of course, Liturgist and Elf Step combine to make even more nonsense happen. Another notable combo that I was thinking of is the Commander, because the Commander has many tactics that can make allies step off turn. And because this is a once per turn effect, this means that even if you stepped on your turn and used this ability, off your turn, the commander can still make you step a little extra as needed. So you might be able to use something like Defensive Retreat to safely move more than just 5 feet on one of those steps. And again, every 5-foot increment of speed mattering will make a big deal. I will note here though, I have seen some people say that this allows you to step into difficult terrain. It does not do that. The reason difficult terrain disallows steps has nothing to do with how many feet you're moving. It's because it explicitly calls out step as something you cannot do in difficult terrain, and that'll continue to be true even if you make the step bigger. So that combo doesn't exist, but a lot of other combo potential does exist. That'll be all for this video, folks. This was a short one, but I hope you found it helpful. These 3 armor property runes were the ones that stood out to me, and I thought they're worth discussing and just getting a video quickly out for. If you like this video, make sure to like and comment. Every little bit of engagement does help. And if you'd like to see my upcoming videos, including the rest of the Impossible Magic series, make sure to subscribe and click the channel notification button. Regardless, I will see you next time. Mathfinder out.